If you want to travel outside of Canada right now, then one of the biggest obstacles is having to get a negative molecular COVID-19 test within 72 hours of boarding your flight back to Canada. This is a pretty onerous requirement, and if you're going to a foreign country, it can be pretty intimidating to find a testing center and do your test just before your flight, and that's something that's been putting off a lot of potential travelers. Now, in this November 2021 edition of the When Can We Travel updates, we're going to talk about a major solution that has come onto the market recently, courtesy of Air Canada and Switch Health. That's going to be the Switch Health RT-LAMP self-testing kits, which you can bring with you on your trip and use it as a way to fulfill the negative testing requirements before coming back to Canada so that you no longer need to seek out a foreign testing center. We'll talk about the Switch Health RT-LAMP test kit as well as other Switch Health products that you may find useful. We'll go over other major important developments like Canada's official proof of vaccination that you need to know about. And of course, we'll talk about a few countries that are reopening to Canadians and some of the exciting news in that regard. So if that sounds good, make sure to drop a like down below just as the video is starting out, and we'll get right into it. Let's begin with the new COVID-19 molecular self-testing kit by Switch Health. This product recently came on the market, and it's designed to solve the problem that faces a lot of travelers, which is finding a foreign testing center before the flight back to Canada. For many Canadians who might have been contemplating an international trip, this obstacle could have been the difference between taking the trip or not. And now we have the Switch Health LAMP test to solve this problem. I've actually got one of these Switch Health LAMP tests right here for my upcoming trip to Nicaragua. Let's open this thing and see what it's all about. So as you can see, it says COVID-19 RT-LAMP test. Now the RT-LAMP is a form of molecular test or NAAT test or NAT test. It's not a PCR test, but it does fulfill the requirements for coming back to Canada. So I've opened the box here. You can see that there's a QR code that you scan in order to get started with the testing process. I'm not going to open up everything here because I do want to pack this kit for my actual trip, but our writer TJ did share his experience using the Switch Health LAMP kit over in an article on princeoftravel.com, and you can check out the link to that in the description below for a full report of using this RT-LAMP kit to do your test before entering Canada and doing so successfully. Basically, the idea is you order one of these kits before your trip, you pack it with you in your luggage, and then within 72 hours of boarding your flight back to Canada, you self-administer the RT-LAMP test under the supervision of a Switch Health telehealth professional over a video link. And there's a little device in the kit that you put your nasal swab into, and the device can recognize whether or not there are traces of COVID-19 in your nasal swab sample. You give it about 30 minutes to run. It'll show either positive or negative, and then you upload a photograph of that to the Switch Health portal, which will allow you to get the official documentation of hopefully your negative test results. You then use this negative test results that shows that it is indeed an RT-LAMP NAT test that's Health Canada authorized in order to pass your entry requirements back to Canada. And just in case you're wondering, no, the nasal swab in the RT-LAMP test doesn't go nearly far as deep into your brain as the PCR tests do. It just goes a little bit into your nostril and you swirl it around. It should be pretty comfortable, and that's one more advantage of these Switch Health test kits compared to seeking out a PCR test in a foreign location where who knows how deep they're going to go. Now, let's talk pricing for these RT-LAMP test kits. Since this is a partnership between Switch Health and Air Canada, Aeroplan members get preferred pricing, and it will cost you 149 Canadian dollars plus taxes for one of these RT-LAMP test kits, which includes one RT-LAMP test. In addition, you'll also earn a bonus 500 Aeroplan points as an Aeroplan member if you order through Switch Health. Express shipping within 1 to 3 business days is included in the price, and if you want overnight shipping, that'll be an extra $15 on these kits. Now, I would say 149 plus tax is a pretty fair price for the convenience that the Switch Health RT-LAMP test kit offers. And even if the PCR test in the foreign country might be cheaper, there's still something to be said about not having to seek out a foreign testing site, not having to take precious time out of your trip to get into a taxi and go to the testing center and get your test done. Instead, you can just get these ones done from the comfort of your hotel room at your convenience. All right, let's put these to one side. You'll see more of them when I post videos from my actual trip over the upcoming weeks. For now, let's talk about some of Switch Health's other products that have recently come on the market as well, including most notably an antigen test kit that will be particularly useful for going to the United States. The Switch Health antigen test kit actually comes with not one, but 2 antigen tests on the inside, so it would be very useful if you're making 2 separate trips to the United States, or perhaps if you're traveling as a couple or with a friend. You can share the test kit and use each one of the 2 antigen tests that are inside. Now, obviously, the United States has been a little bit less strict than Canada with the inbound testing requirement, requiring only an antigen test rather than a molecular test. So if you're to take this antigen test, it's also a self-administered one, and get a negative result, you'd be able to use it to enter the US. Much like you'll find at regular in-person testing centers, the Switch Health antigen test kit is also priced cheaper than the molecular alternative. It's only 79 Canadian dollars, and you'll get 500 bonus Aeroplan points when you order one of these kits. And don't forget, the kit itself actually comes with 2 antigen tests inside, so really it's only about $40 per antigen test. That's basically on par with the cheapest antigen test that you can find in Canada, such as at Shoppers Drug Marts in Ontario, and furthermore, these test kits can be used by people living in any province, not just those provinces that have the Shoppers Drug Mart testing centers. And here's one more reason why the antigen test kit is so exciting. As of November 8th, Hawaii is allowing inbound travelers from Canada to simply enter with an antigen test. In the past, Hawaii had separate testing requirements compared to the mainland of the US, but now an antigen test will be accepted just like the rest of the US, so we can simply order one of these Switch Health antigen test kits, get our tests done, and then fly straight to Hawaii from Canada. Now, last but not least, there's also the Switch Health RT-PCR test kit, which, as the name implies, is an actual PCR test. This one is also self-administered with the help of a telehealth professional over a video link. However, the results do not get analyzed on the spot. Instead, you do need to ship the test results to a Canadian laboratory for processing, and that will take up to 48 hours after the lab receives your shipment. Now, pricing-wise, it's still a fairly reasonable price point at 159 Canadian dollars plus tax, and you get 1,000 bonus Aeroplan points for buying the PCR test kit. However, I do believe that the turnaround time for the RT-PCR test kit may not be so feasible for some countries around the world, many of whom want you to take your test within 72 hours of boarding your flight. And if I were to use the RT-PCR test kit, do it myself, set it into the lab, and then wait up to 48 hours for processing, I'd be out of time. And so therefore, I do feel like there's limited use cases for the Switch Health RT-PCR test, given that it needs to be sent to a Canadian lab for processing. However, if you do need a PCR test and it's not time sensitive, then this would certainly be a very convenient way to get it done as well. Now, in addition to this exciting news on the testing front, there's also been one key development since we last spoke in terms of Canada's proof of vaccination. And that's the fact that Canada's nationwide proof of vaccination that's suitable for international travel has now been launched. This system was developed in conjunction with the provinces and territories, and it's indeed through your province or territory that you'll request your specific PDF document that shows your proof of vaccination. Here's what the document looks like, and you can see that it contains all the relevant information that a foreign border officer or health officer might need to know, including your full name, your date of birth, the specific doses of the vaccines that you had gotten and the date that you had gotten them on, as well as a QR code that conforms to the Smart Health Card format, which some governments around the world, like Singapore, require in order to verify the authenticity of your vaccine passport. Now, just to be clear, you don't have to use this Canada-wide proof of vaccination if you're just doing things like going out to the restaurant or even boarding a flight within Canada. You can still use your provincial health cards or provincial proof of vaccination for that. It simply is another standard for the proof of vaccination that's more internationally recognized, and that should give you a smoother journey when you're embarking on international trips. So I definitely recommend downloading your copy of the PDF vaccine passport as soon as you can, save it to your computer and your phone as you start planning some of those international adventures. Speaking of which, let's wrap up the video with some happy news about countries around the world slowly reopening their borders to tourism. In last month's update, we talked about how Thailand was set to open their borders to 63 countries, including Canada, as of November 1st, and indeed, that has happened, we can now go to Thailand without having to quarantine as long as we show proof of vaccination. And I imagine many of us will be tempted to take a trip over to Thailand, if not immediately this winter, then maybe early next year. But in addition, there are also quite a few other countries that might not be on quite so many travelers' radars that are also reopening their borders. For example, Argentina in November 1st also reopened to fully vaccinated travelers after a long closure. And indeed, it's just in time that here at Prince of Travel, we've launched our revamped Travel During COVID-19 resource for Canadians, in which we've now automated all of the entry restrictions for all the different countries around the world, depending on your trip origin and your country of citizenship. Whether a country is open to all travelers, regardless of testing or vaccination, whether you need a test, whether you need a proof of vaccination, or whether you need both, that'll all be listed here. And you can also click each individual country to learn more about the local COVID-19 case counts, as well as the local situation in terms of health restrictions and border restrictions. I've left a link in the description below. Go ahead and check it out. Click through the list, see if any of the countries capture your imagination, and you might just find that there are actually so many more places that we can now travel to than you had first imagined. And hey, whisper it quietly here, but there are a few signs of some of the most closed off countries like Australia or Japan perhaps starting to open their borders again sometime soon. Australia has just opened to tourists that are Singaporean citizens, so who knows, they might open to the rest of the world sometime early next year. And Japan is thinking about starting to let international students come in, as well as relaxing the issuance of business visas. And those are two very good signs of potentially reopening to all vaccinated tourists sometime in 2022. If you ask me, I have a good feeling that Japan might be open just in time for cherry blossom season in the spring. Let's keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and that you're as excited about the return of global travel just as much as I am. If so, go ahead and hit the like button down below and subscribe to the Prince of Travel YouTube channel. Just click the subscribe button below the video. Let me know in the comments below, are you comfortable traveling internationally right now? Do the new Switch Health RT-Lab test kits perhaps sway your decision in making it easier to get tested? And which country are you most looking forward to going to in 2022? By the time you watch this video, I'll be in Nicaragua, and so I'll see you in future videos. Canada. Require in order to verify the genuinity